Today on Metaphysical Mississippi, we've got Jina Daniels, owner of Jax-Zen Healing Arts Center in Jackson, Mississippi. She shares a little bit about what goes on there, as well as Vibe Fest happening October 29th. Welcome to Metaphysical Mississippi. I'm your host, Emily Hester, and today we have Jina Daniels with Jax-Zen. So glad to have you here today, Jina.
Well, thanks. Glad to be here.
Yes. Well, I know we have a lot to talk about. I want to hear about Vibe Fest, but before we get into that, I would love for you to share your origin story. Just like what began your journey on into metaphysics or spirituality? And then how did you first learn about Metaphysical Mississippi? And then we'll go from there.
Okay. Now, how much time do we have now?
Yeah.
It seems like a long story, but yeah, it seems like a long story, but it really happened in a relatively short period of time. So I'm going to go back to kind of where my whole journey picked back up again, because I had been in the corporate world for 35 years, had a corporate career in insurance management, super boring stuff. Called myself the spreadsheet queen. Still kind of like spreadsheets, but
they're fun.
but I'd raised 3 kids and been a single mom and been married a couple times, and just kind of had all this. I'd been really creative as a youngster, and then it kind of got squashed when I was raising the kids and working and all that. And then when I lived in Nashville, Tennessee, I met who's now my creative mentor. I met Whitney Freya and started following her. And she owned a wine bar, so we would sit and drink wine and commiserate over a new book that she was just getting ready to release. And I took a couple art classes with her that she was teaching at a local college, and then I just was following her. She's just a really creative genius. She's a wonderful person. But I could talk a long time about her. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of fast forward. So over the next few years, she ended up leaving Nashville and moving to Oregon. And I kept following her, and she had started doing the certification for creatively fit coaches. And I really just felt compelled to do that. But I don't know why. I didn't have like any plans for being a coach or anything like that, but she just was very inspiring. And so, over the next few years, just kind of watched her. And then in 2015, I went out and spent an intensive week, seems like a lot longer than a week, but with her at her house in Oregon, and went through her certification program and became a creatively fit coach. And it was like, ooh, the light, everything kind of, it was actually like, there was like it was a little crack and the light started coming in.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I was, I was wearing pantsuits and, like I said, spreadsheets, and metaphysics wasn't even in my vocabulary. And I came back and started just creating like a mad person, painting all the time. And it really just became my therapy. It was kind of like what I always said, became my yoga. And it helped me kind of deal with the stuff that was going on at work. And I started teaching her programs to others, just kind of across the kitchen table. And so then the cracks started coming in, and I started meeting different people with all these different beliefs and practices and things like that. And the old me would have been like, what's all that about? And I just started to be like, well, tell me more. And I just became curious, and I love learning about other people and what makes them tick. And some of it resonated with me and some of it didn't. It didn't matter. But the more I, opened up, all these new things started coming my way. And then about, I don't know how many years later, but I started just kind of at this crossroads, because I thought I was going to have to quit my job, like I can't do this anymore. But the creativity and artwork really just helped me like deal with all that, and all the politics of the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point in time, I started like the two parts of me started really separating, and I'm like, okay, this no longer aligns. I'm going to have to do something, but allowed me to deal with it for a bit. So my husband and I kind of went on this 2-year plan to pay off bills and try to figure out a different route for me so I could leave that, insurance role. I didn't think I could ever leave it because, that was my role. That was my identity. It's just who I was.
That's right.
And, and so we eventually, paid off stuff, sold stuff, quit, downsized. And at that point in time, the company I worked for was doing a lot of downsizing of their own. And I thought I was going to get let go with all the restructuring, but I didn't. They were like, congratulations, you get to stay. And I'm like, ooh, great. But I decided I was going to leave of my own accord, which we eventually did. And we started Jax-Zen Healing Arts Center. At that time, it was Jax-Zen Float, because we were just all about the float tanks at that time.
Yes.
And and so again, I was continuing to teach the art stuff, and we opened up the what we called the Float Center at that time. And that's a whole nother story of how we got into that, but I don't know if I want to bore you with how we got into the float tanks, but
no, I want to hear it. And we can touch on that today if you want, or we can have you back too and you touch on it another day as well.
All right, I'll do the real brief version of it.
Yeah.
My husband discovered float tanks probably on YouTube, and he really wanted to do this thing, and I didn't know what he was talking about, but he arranged for us to float when we were on vacation in Mexico. So we actually drove like 3 hours from where we were staying. We got to where we were going and floated, and it was interesting. Like, I was like, oh, this is interesting. But after I processed it, we were just like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then he decided to continue to float. He loved it. He fell in love with it right away. And I thought it was cool, but it took me a little while before I fell in love with it too. But he would float whenever he was out on tour, with music, or he would drive up to Nashville and float. And then we decided we were going to go ahead and, that's a short story. We decided to go ahead and open up a center here. And eventually we added the other modalities that we have now. So that was kind of how we started. Again, still at this point in time, I still didn't know anything about metaphysical or even what that meant. So this is where it brings in how I got in touch with Metaphysical Mississippi. So when we first opened up, we had a few people approach us. Juan was one of them. And she, said, hey, we want to come to this metaphysical meetup and this and that. And I'm like, sure, I'm all about networking. I had no idea what it was. And I had to kind of, I probably had to Google what metaphysical even meant at that point in time.
Me too.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for admitting that.
Just 2 months ago for me.
Yeah.
I'm totally, I was like,
no, I mean, right. I mean, if you don't grow up in that world, you just really don't know,
Right.
And I was really shielded from a lot of things growing up. And so I went and met a lot of great people and kind of got into this community. And again, every time I'd meet somebody, I'd like, tell me more about what you do, what it is. And, my eyes just became more open, and some resonated, some didn't. And that's all great. And now we're selling crystals. I don't know how we went from spreadsheets to selling crystals, but
it's working, I hope.
Yeah, it's great. It's been a journey. Like I said, that was a long story, but in a relatively short period of time, because once things started changing, I mean, things changed exponentially.
Yes. Wow. So where are you originally from? Are you from? Where did you spend your, I mean, you don't have to share it if you don't want to.
Of course, an open book.
I don't need to know your social security number.
Right, that's right. Unless you want to pick up some of the bills and take them with you.
No.
So I grew up in Arizona. I'm the oldest of 7 children, 6 growing up, and came from a big family and lived in Arizona. I'm Hispanic and my so like mixed race and just growing up in Arizona, just wasn't exposed to, what I left out, things I blocked it out. I grew up in a very religious family.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know, if you grew up in a religious family too.
And you would you would guess, because there's a lot of kids and we moved around a lot, you'd guess it was Catholicism. But
Yeah, it
so
wasn't.
no, I was raised Jehovah's Witness.
Oh my
And
goodness, we have such a
yeah,
mixed bag now. You're my first Jehovah Witness guest. I mean, ex-Jehovah Witness, unless you still do
extra
it now.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to start labeling. I'm gonna have to start tagging y'all in my
In our Indian decks.
people search.
Yeah. So this is a long time ago, but I grew up with, a lot of what a lot of us do with organized religion, that a lot of fear-based
Yes.
and very, closed-mindedness, and so a lot
Mhm.
of the things that I'm into now, that was like, ooh, that was taboo, and but
Yes.
I grew up, grew up to make
Right.
my own decisions. I made major, I would say I made most of my major changes. I left the religion and all that back in my 20s, but I made all that stuff is programmed in, though. You know what I mean? Even though I left, it was still programmed in. And
It
so it took
is.
another 20 years to unwind that. And so, I was in my mid 40s when things started changing, for me.
Right.
So,
Do you think I'm starting to think that really anything organized like that, and I find it even I homeschooled my child, so I'm not even into organized education, but there
we do
it's fine. People no, it's a great resource for some people. That is their way, that is their doorway into creativity and freedom from a situation they're in. But I mean, it's great for children. I'm not saying it's just every child, but where was I going with this? I was going somewhere. Oh, that um all that kind of stuff just stifles our creativity. I
yeah,
just
it
Yeah,
really does.
it really because I mean I was born very creative. I mean I am still creative, but I don't but the fear shuts it down, shuts it down.
Right. And that the fear creeps into everything. So it's not just about, the obvious things, but it's that little voice like, oh no, you shouldn't, you couldn't, you wouldn't, and it's like for us to even feel, and I think women in general, we tend to like, we don't always step into, our own greatness, right? So a lot of times we make
Oh
ourselves
my
small, we're taking care
goodness.
of the kids or a mom or a
You are
wife,
so
all
right.
those things. And that doesn't necessarily stem from the religious upbringing, but I think that
Just the
makes it even
dynamics of
enhances it.
of just what comes organically from us. I mean, just because we're nurturer, we always,
Right.
we're built that way to put
Yeah.
sometimes another's needs before our own because we're
Yeah.
mothers. Or, we just have that mother instinct. If you're not a mother, you're still inbred to do that. I mean,
Right. And it's like, and not just not just mothers, but parents and in our society, just the way we're, like you mentioned, the school system, so it's like, this is the way it's been for how many hundreds of years. So, it's like, does that mean it's the right way? So whether, so start being curious as far as like, why are we doing that way? Because we've always done it that way. Well, why? Why can't we do something a little different? So we did the same thing. So I've got 3 grown children that have kids of their own. I'm a grandmother, but my husband and we got married later in life, and we had our son Jenner, who's now almost 13, and he
oh my
was in school
goodness.
for third grade, I believe, was when we took him out and started homeschooling him. And so I get where you're coming on that. So yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of different paradigm shifts, right? Like
Yes.
the school system and religious organizations and our communities, just mindsets. Just
Yes. But
I
then
think all of us, if we could all be able to step out of and be self learners and be open to like, okay, it's just there's not a right way. And I think you and I were talking earlier on text as far as like giving ourselves grace. It's like
yes.
a part of that is, well, for me, when I start getting hard on myself, it's usually because I'm thinking, well, what is that person thinking of me?
And I was
Right.
thinking the same thing. She's
Well,
gonna think
and it's like I don't want to be an inconvenience, and I don't want to, and so to give ourselves that grace and know that, I'm coming from a place of love, and I would never do something to hurt the other person, so it's like,
right.
and so the other thing is the flipping that around. So when somebody irritates us, having to take a couple breaths and say, okay, I'm not going to assume that it's all about me. They might be having a bad day. Let me just give them some grace.
Right. I love water, but I have heard that what is it, salt, or what is it, that is it like Epsom salt, or sort of some kind of chemical
Mhm.
compound that's in the water? And is it like the Dead Sea?
It is. It's just
Yeah.
all it is water and pharmaceutical grade Epsom salt.
Oh,
And
okay.
I mean, and it's, I say pharmaceutical grade because we use the good stuff, but
Yeah.
if you dump enough Epsom salt in the tank, it's going to make you float. So there's about 200 gallons of water in there and almost 900 pounds of Epsom salt dissolved in there. So we buy it by the big 50-gallon bags. And the tank is about 4 feet by 8 feet. You're going to have to come over and try it out, and
I
then you can come back and tell us
know.
what you think.
I
Um,
have to.
yeah. And literally we hear about the Dead Sea, being able to float in the Dead Sea.
Yes.
They say that the float tank is 10 times denser than the Dead Sea. So literally when you get in, you kind of step in, sit on your bottom. It's only 10 inches deep, kind of like the baby pool, lay back, and you
Oh,
pop up just like a cork right on top of the water.
okay.
And
Now, is it, Krista mentioned she's done it before, and is it a capsule where you shut the door, or you can leave it
there's
up?
a door on it. There's a door on it. You can leave it open. So the
Okay.
reason there's a top on it, so think of it like a big bathtub.
Yes.
And it's I think and 8 feet long and 4 feet wide. So it's, most people can fit in that.
Correct.
And even we've got really tall, people that come in, and, wide people, and everybody floats.
Yes.
So the reason that there's a cover on it is because we heat the temperature of the solution. We don't even call it water anymore because now it's a solution because we've got so much salt in there, to 94.5 degrees, which is the average person's external skin temperature. The reason for that is we want it to be super neutral. So when you get in there, you are basically in this kind of like anti-gravity situation, and the water or the solution just kind of cradles you. And it just allows your body to just kind of like go into its natural form. So you're just kind of hanging out there in space. Now the top helps us keep the inside of the air to be the same temperature. So if you leave the door open, which I did in the beginning because I was a little bit nervous,
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering about.
yeah, then you're
Claustrophobia.
a little bit cooler on top, which it's still good, but it's a different experience. So if you do end up getting to the point where you close the door on it, then the air and the temperature equalize, and now you really feel like now you don't feel, unless you really move your fingers around, you really feel like you're just kind of floating out there in nothingness. And
Is
that's the
it
idea.
is it completely dark in there?
It's
Or
meant to
can
be
it be?
completely dark. Yeah, we have a little LED light that we can put in there with you. And again, full disclosure, I floated with the door open in the beginning, and I used my light in the beginning too. And then when I graduated from letting my, doing the light, not using the light, I would roll up a towel and put it in the door, crack it open. And
Yeah, that's
now it's like darker the better. So the reason for that is because when you're in there, it just basically strips you of like all your senses, like all the outside input that we get, stimulus. And so when it's dark, your brain's not registering that. And then you're wearing earplugs, so it's super quiet in there.
that's what I
And the
was
temperature
wondering.
of the water is neutral. So it basically gives your brain rest. And now your body can just hang out, and, some people fall asleep in there. Other people float for pain, chronic pain.
Yes.
Um, Athletes float for muscle recovery. I mean, grandma always told us to float, or to take a bath in Epsom salt, right?
Yes. So you could use this experience just for normal physical to heal aching or for pain relief, or to just really space out and let
Yeah,
your mind go where or to meditate or whatever.
you hit
Um,
the nail on the head. And
could,
that's what we kind of always say. It's like a mind, body, spirit, whatever it is that you need.
yes.
People come for
Yes.
all the different reasons, and some come for all of it, and I've learned now that it's the entire experience that personally helps me. So I'm
Yes.
in there for my aches and pains, and once I get relaxed, then I get out of my head, and sometimes I'll fall asleep, and they say that an hour in the float tank of sleep is like 4 hours of rest.
Oh man, I just need one in my no house. No, just joking.
Well, think about when you're even sleeping in your own bed, your brain is, even though we're not consciously doing, your brain is taking, assessing, okay, it's cold or it's hot in here. It's, the bed is hard or it's soft. It's, all these things that your brain is
Yes.
is having to regulate for you. And when all that's taken away, you're just kind of left with just being.
Thinking. So, I think you have to probably be in a space of feeling safe, sort of insecure to float.
So I think
I
it
you know
it's
what I
not,
mean?
yeah, it's not a it first of all, I have to say floating's not for everyone.
Mhm.
But we always say give it like 2 or 3 tries before you decide, because it's so different from anything else that we do, that, like you said, like the first float is kind of like, okay, what the heck am I doing in here? Am I safe? Am I going to float? Can I breathe? Like all these
Right.
question marks are going on, right? So when you finally say, okay, I got this, next time you get in your float, you're like, already, you know what to expect. And now you peeled out that first layer, and now you're like, okay, whatever, they can go to the kind of the next level. And some people get it right away.
Yeah.
But those of us that like aren't really good at meditating right off the bat, it's a
Right.
help, like it's a fast track to meditation once you kind of get to that, peel off that second layer.
Yes.
People who are really good at meditating, they can get in there really quickly if they can get over the physical, part of it right away.
When I was talking to I think it was Kelly that mentioned it. She said, when they do rituals, it's prayer in 3D. And I almost feel like float is surrendering in 3D.
I
You're
didn't think about that.
surrendering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I
And
mean,
it
I've
really,
had those moments when I've had to surrender something. And I do have, I mean, I grew up in different religion, went to different religions, but I did have a moment where um understanding the Christ figure for me, I had a surrender of and I floated. And when you said that, I just connected with me that was kind of what I felt like when I fell back, of surrendering things that I can't control, because getting into that tank, you are surrendering.
you're
And
right.
and so, oh, I can't wait to do it. I'm going to do it. I do not live in town, but I'm going to come up there and do it.
Next time you're in town, just make it
Gonna
a
be
point.
so fun. And I'm not the skinniest person in the world, and part of me would just love to just, you know, lay all the baggage that I feel I have and just just
Oh, well,
float with
that's
me.
like, you don't, everybody always like wonders. And it's so interesting to me too, because like I'll reach underneath me and I'm like, I am like this far from the bottom, but I'm floating. Like you can't
Yes.
tell, because it's just, it just holds you, anybody, like,
Yes.
everybody can float.
So that was y'all's first taking the step with the float was your first kind of like dipping your big toe into, we're going out into the metaphysical community with this. Now, how long has it been like Jax-Zen? 3 years?
We, we're going on 6 years now. So
Okay, since you've added
oh
all
no,
the,
altogether. So I mean, everything
yeah,
happened pretty quickly.
okay,
We opened our doors at the end of 2016. So we're
okay,
coming up on a 6-year anniversary. We started with the float tanks. We were bringing people in when the whole other part, which you'll see when you come to visit, which is
yeah,
now kind of like our retail store, was just a
yeah,
big empty like art studio. And then we added massage, and then we added the energy work. And yeah, so we've got, and then that the other part was my art studio, and I kind of got pushed back now a little bit, but I'm not. We have a nice area where people can come in and just hang out and just
Yes. Oh
be.
no, I love that. Now, are you a Reiki master? Is that correct?
Yeah, so and
Okay.
I got my Reiki Master teacher training in almost a year ago now.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I have really no experience. I mean, Krista's a Reiki master as well, and I still have she's only, I still haven't really officially even had a Reiki session to even, and I've got one in the family, but just to understand how energy moves and all that. Now, do you give Reiki sessions there, or are you, do you have hours? Can they
Yeah,
contact you
yes,
through the
yes. We
Jax-Zen?
have
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
we do Reiki sessions, and we also, and I'm kind of, because I'm, Reiki teacher, I'm really adamant about saying, okay, Reiki is this thing, and there's a lot of energy work that, is not Reiki. Like, there's crystals and energy clearing and all this stuff. But we do a lot of that with Reiki. It's very similar. So we can do the Reiki by just itself for anybody that's just kind of a purist, and then we can do the Reiki
Yes.
along with these other modalities. And we've got several of us now that are Reiki certified now that can do that. Somebody, but I have to tell you just a real quick funny story
Yes,
about
please
Reiki.
do.
When I first, so remember back to the story, I couldn't even spell metaphysical, and people were coming to us, and I kept hearing Reiki this, Reiki here, and I met my husband in California. He grew up there, and I lived there for several years. And you'd think in somewhere like Northern California, I'm going to hear about metaphysical and Reiki and things like that.
Right.
And I had never heard of Reiki until I got here, Mississippi, of all places. And so, people are coming and they're talking about this Reiki, that Reiki, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck all this Reiki thing is, but I signed up for my first Reiki class just because I wanted to know. I
What
was
are they
curious.
talking about? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had no intention of ever teaching Reiki. So, it just goes to show you that,
Just,
just to go in with an open mind, and you never know. But yeah, so, I learned about it, and it made so much sense, and it worked. It felt great. For Reiki's great for self healing, and Reiki doesn't heal, but it relaxes you enough to let your body do the healing. So
oh,
yeah,
that's
one
beautiful.
thing led to another. Just I wanted to learn more and more and more, and in my course, how I do things, I'm like, all right, I want to share this. So that's what led me to become a
Wow,
Reiki master teacher.
love it. What inspired you? Well, you probably have already touched on this I think we've already said what inspired you to open Jax-Zen, but why Midtown? Why did you open it in Midtown?
Good question. So my husband always has this. He has this like sixth sense where I don't know, what
I know what you
spiders.
mean.
And he's really good at kind of knowing where things are going to be before they happen. And
Oh, awesome.
I kept saying we should open in Fondren, or I'm thinking of all these places that are kind of
Yes,
already up and coming, right?
correct.
And we'd learned about Midtown. We were living in Bellhaven when we first moved to Jackson, and and it's just a stone's throw from where we're at here in Midtown now. And we'd come to some festivals over here, and there was this creative vibe here that he tapped into right away, and I did quickly thereafter. Um, and those of you that don't know about Midtown, it's sits right behind Millsaps, and it's kind of between downtown and Fondren. And there's a
Mhm.
major creative community here, and there has been for 20 plus years. And there's a lot of these buildings that look like we're just in this industrial area. You would never know that there's this beautiful art studio inside. And there's a lot of makers and a lot of creators in this area. And so we definitely, once we tapped into that, wanted to be part of this community. And a lot of people, questioned our people that we don't care what their opinions are,
Right,
obviously.
right.
Question like, why are you going there? And the other part of it actually that worked out in our favor is that, we could have gone into a strip mall up in, Madison or Ridgeland or somewhere, fancy,
Correct.
and taken on a bunch of debt and overhead and had to pass that on to our clients. One of the things that was really important to us early on is that we want as many people floating as possible. The other stuff's great too, but there's other people doing massage and Reiki and all the other good stuff.
Right, right.
We wanted as many people floating as possible, and we want it to be accessible. So if you
Oh,
go
I
to any
love
of the
that.
other major cities, you're going to be paying 2-3 times as much as you're paying for our floats here. And
Yeah,
we're having to realistically raise prices over time, but
of
it's still,
course.
we're trying to stay relative to our market here. And so being in Midtown also gave us that opportunity to have a lower rent, although it, again, just like everywhere, it's increased too.
Right.
But it's, and we actually fell in love with the community. When we were in our downsizing phase, we ended up buying a little fixer upper over here in the hood also. So now we live and work in Midtown. A lot of people have Jackson in general kind of gets a bad rap because,
Yeah.
there's crime and there's this and there's that. I mean, it's a city. It's an
Yes,
urban area.
yes.
We're going to have that. But, when people ask what we like the most about Mississippi, like, know us from California and different places, they're like, what do you like about Mississippi? And we're like, the people. And they're like, what do you dislike the most? We're like, the people. Because, you get outside of the city and, some of those viewpoints
Yes,
change a little bit. And
I
um,
understand.
yeah, and we love being in the country too. So don't get me wrong. I mean, we were kind of split personalities. We lived downtown Nashville when we were in Nashville, right? Printers Alley in downtown.
Oh,
And so when we moved here, people were like trying to steer us to the suburbs, and we're like,
mhm.
we need to be in the hub for starters.
Yes,
We would love to eventually have a place out in the country too, because we do love nature and try to
of
get out.
course. But I'm also thinking you're right. I mean, you're conveniently located though around all the hospitals too.
Yes,
So
we are.
there's a need that
Colleges.
the colleges and yeah, hospitals right there. So there's people in need right there from all
Hmm.
walks of life going to be coming in and out,
Yeah.
not just not just from your neighborhood, but
Right. Oh yeah.
so yeah,
People in our neighborhood don't even know what we do. We're trying to get the word out here too. You know,
yes,
coming in to, you know,
right.
they're usually not coming here unless they're coming directly to find us. But
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. I so I think we've covered most everything, but the of the services that you offer, and they can go to jaxzen.com, right?
yeah,
JAX
that's
dash ZEN
yeah. Mhm.
dot com. Okay.
Yeah.
For all the services. Why don't we get into Vibe Fest? A
Okay.
little. So when and where will it be?
So it'll be October 29th, which is next Saturday, and it'll be at the Midtown Depot. Midtown Depot is a newer venue here in Midtown. It's an art and beer garden. So they've got a nice big yard and place. So in the past, we've done it on the street where we'll close up the streets and it's more of a street festival. Since this is our first time back again after COVID, we made it a little smaller to get started, and then we'll expand again as we move forward. But we definitely wanted to have something this year instead of waiting again. So sorry. So yeah, so it'll be at Midtown Depot. Get me off on a tangent.
That's all right. You had me at
And
beer when you said beer garden.
yeah, so the festival will start at 11 a.m. And we're going to open up with some community yoga, and that'll be led by Jessica Reichert, and Juan will be doing some really nice ambient music along with her, and it'll be all levels. So even if people have never tried yoga before, the thing about our festival is we really want people to come and just kind of try some different things and be exposed to things maybe they've never done
Oh,
before. So we're not like advertising this as like a yoga festival. This is just
yeah.
just a nice little sample in the morning. And then William, Michael, is going to do a group meditation right after the yoga. Just kind of we'll get the festival kicked off, and then we'll go into live music. We'll start at noon, and we've got several really great bands and solo acts, a really wide range of genres. So we've got world music, we've got some African drums, and another group that's going to be playing like sitar and African drums and guitar, and we've got some reggae, some hip hop, we've got some roots. I mean, so we've got a lot of, just a good mix of music. And he put me outside with live music, and I'm happy.
Yes.
And then during the same time, so the rest of the festival go until 12 to 6 after the yoga, and we'll have we've got about 25 plus vendors that will be set up. It'll be different artisans and artists and makers that will be selling like their handmade goods, and some food, some yummy, healthy food options. And then Midtown Depot also has food that they sell on site, and beer.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
and
So,
then good.
oh, is there a mission fee?
No, so it's a free festival. Yeah, so you can come and go, and no admission. We wanted to make it accessible to our neighborhood, to our neighbors and our communities.
Right.
Yeah.
But come out and support local
Yeah,
vendors though too.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a
Great.
great place. But it's one of the things that's really important to us, because my husband's a musician and I'm an artist, and we really want to showcase our local artists. And this year, we always want to have people at least from Mississippi, but this year I think most of our musicians are even from the Jackson area. And yeah, so it's really, very hyper local. And then something new to the festival this year that we really been wanting to do is we're going to have kind of started as an idea of like a community healing tent.
Yeah.
We're calling it the Vibration Elevation Station. So we're going to be, again, giving samples of different types of healing modalities. So we'll have someone from our shop doing some chair massage, and then we'll have different time slots. We'll have different groups come in, and that'll be free, where they can come in and experience things like a sound bath with Jason Lee.
Oh, I love Jason.
I know, it's amazing. And then we're going to be doing like a energy clearing. Lindley from our shop, Lindley Healy, is going to be doing an energy session, energy clearing. So should do some Reiki and some energy clearing, balancing as a group. And we'll have a Reiki share. So anyone that is Reiki attuned that wants to come in and help us with that would be awesome. And then if you've never heard of Reiki and want to come experience it, that's the idea here.
That's a great, oh yes.
And then let's see what else we're going to have in there. So we'll do another guided meditation with Willow from Jax-Zen, and I'm going to be leading what I'm calling a heart flow circle, which will be, a little bit of, since they're just like short 20-minute sessions. So
Yeah,
it'll be like a little bit of journaling with some, heart focused breathing tied into that. So yeah, so that should be fun. We should have a really good little mix of kind of just sampling those different modalities.
it is. Now, this is not the first year, correct? But it usually in the past it was held in the
April,
spring, right? All right.
Started out as an Earth Day celebration.
Gotcha.
And it's all about, the whole purpose of our festival is to raise awareness and education around environmental awareness, so anything from, recycling to, climate change, and everything in the middle. And so education is a big piece of this. And we're going to be having speakers come in between the musical acts and talk about what they're doing in our community with from community gardening, urban farming, all kinds of things like that.
Well,
and then
I was going to say, after doing the interview with Willow, I wanted to start eating my weeds.
Yeah. I know. She said, we're always like taking her in the yard, like, hey, what's this? Can I eat it? She's going around our yard. She goes, yeah, this is edible.
So is everything pretty much, have y'all met all the deadlines? Is there anything you need to remind anybody to
Yeah, we're still looking for volunteers. So if anyone, wants to come and help out, and if someone could just even come out for a couple hours for a shift to help, just with either
Yes.
setting up, tearing down, or kind of running in the middle. Takes a lot to get these things going, even though, they usually come off pretty well without a hitch, but there's a lot of in the background organizing going on.
So you need more, community support is very much appreciated.
Yes. And the other thing is we have a very small budget. So we don't have an advertising budget per se. So
Right.
we this is all supported by local businesses and organizations that help us, to put this on. We pay all of our musical artists. That's kind of one of our things. We don't want, we're not asking them to come in and do it for
Right.
free. We want to support
Right.
their lifestyle, their livelihood. So
So
um,
that opportunity is
yeah,
still
yeah.
available for anybody who wants to come alongside
Yeah,
you.
if anyone just wants to just help us get the word out, like that can
Yes.
help us because,
Yes.
since we don't have that advertising budget, just spread the
Totally
word.
understand.
Or even if
Yes.
you're out of town this weekend and you can come and, you can tell your neighbor to come down and check it out, then that would be
Yes.
helpful.
That is. We can do it. We're gonna spread the word.
And then I just also want to mention our new partner this year. So we're partnering
Oh,
with an organization called Healthwurks. And this
Healthwurks. Okay.
Healthwurks, yeah, and it's spelled with a U for work. So it's Health, Wurks, Healthworks Jax-Zen, Jax-Zen. And Healthworks Jax-Zen is a project that is basically trying to create awareness around all the same things that we believe in for our festival. So right now, I happen to sit on one of the team members for Healthworks, and we've got a team working on curriculum for JPS. So they're teaching kids about environmental awareness and recycling and the
Oh,
waste cycle
yes.
and all that.
Yeah.
And then we've got another team member that's working with the kids, the same classroom. So they're taking what they're learning and they're creating a podcast and a YouTube channel. So you'd appreciate that.
Oh,
And it's cool.
yes.
They're basically talking about what they're learning about in the podcast, and then they're bringing somebody in from the community and interviewing them. So it's awesome, so cute.
That is
And so yeah, and then part of the Healthworks is having an event to showcase what they're doing, and so that's why we've partnered together with our event. So it just is a good marriage.
Oh, yes. I'll make sure to put their I'm assuming they have a website.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
I'll link to that too.
cool.
So you
Yeah, I'll try to make sure to put that in the description. Oh no, that's exciting. Uh
Yeah, the kids, I mean, it's great, and we're hoping to expand that curriculum. Right now, it's in its infancy, so we're working with 4th and 5th graders at one of the schools, and so our plan is to continue to grow that program.
you know what I really wish we would have learned in school? How to plant a garden.
Right?
That is what I mean, how to actually go outside and forage for our own food.
Right.
Would that not have been, you know,
Well, that's part of this curriculum. So Matt is
that's what
going
I
in
was
and
hoping
teaching
they
them.
would.
Yeah, he's teaching them to plant. They've already, how to plant, how to tend the seeds, how to, all that. And so they've got a few raised beds there in the
Oh, I
playground.
love
And
that.
yeah, and then we're
Yeah.
going to be working on, creating a seed bank and, being able to share seeds and things. And in fact, we are actually going to be giving away some seeds at the festival. So anyone that stops by, make sure you stop by the Healthworks booth because we're going to be giving away some seeds, and hopefully we get to meet some of the kids that are doing this great work
Oh, yes. So they're
on our
they're also learning seasons.
team.
I mean, understanding seasons. Oh, we could get off on that. We won't go. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. Well, I'll definitely put their information in our notes. Let's see what else. Okay, we've talked about that we would love to have volunteers, and we all need to come and float. And check out, y'all have it's a Jax-Zen boutique, correct? Is that what it's called? What's the proper?
Yeah, we call the store part the Zen boutique.
The
We always,
Zen boutique.
and it's just, we've got, we carry different supplements, mushroom supplements, naturopathic supplements. We've got all of Christy Littlefield's bulk herbs and all her blends she sells there.
Yes.
Kelly's candles, handmade candles, Lindley's EMF jewelry that she makes. And then we also have different other, it's just, you have to just come and see. We've got other jewelry and different things in there that are made by local artists. And we've got, assortment of crystals and sage and, all your metaphysical needs.
Now, if somebody wanted to buy a gift, would they go there to like talk to someone about getting a gift package or a gift certificate or?
Yeah, you could come in and do it. We've got some things that you can just purchase online if you make it easy.
Yeah.
Especially for services. We've got, all of our services you can do online, book them online, and you can also
wonderful.
print your own gift cards and email them if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
And then, in person, we are, we're starting back up again with all of our creative workshops. We'll be doing, those every month, different types of makers workshops and creative workshops, Reiki classes. So got a lot going on there.
I've got to come up for a creative workshop. She mentioned something about something in SIP.
Well, I used to call them paint and sips. Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay. Yeah. There's so many people that are on different journeys, and I didn't want to include people that are maybe in recovery that don't want to be around a bunch of people that are drinking. So I always, so sometimes we have, the completely non-alcoholic, people that just don't want to be around it. And then we don't make a big deal of it. So if you want to bring adult beverage and have it while you're painting, fine. Well, you want to drink tea and have it while you're painting, fine. But we just don't call it sips.
Gotcha. I forgot the painting part, but I remembered the sip.
Okay, no judgment.
No, I'm just joking. We're talking. I'm like a 2 glass a month person. I'm just joking.
Well, I am all for supporting those in recovery, and I I maintain my own
yeah. Mom would probably paint and chocolate.
That'll work. Bring a snack. The other thing too is we offer. I'm sorry. The other thing
I was going to say paint and snack or something.
Yeah, paint and snack. But somebody that wanted to even bring in, we do this all the time where we'll, somebody wants to bring in their own people, we'll do private parties. So if anybody ever wants to get a group of friends together, if there's at least 5, we can set up a private party too. We can go up to, we do small groups, like maybe 12 people. Yes.
Oh, that's so much fun.
We've done vision boarding and, it's not all about painting, but, painting is my true love, but other, journal making workshops and also we have art supplies. A lot of people don't know that we carry art supplies in our shop too.
You do? Now, is it also oil, water, just
we do mostly acrylic painting, but I've got watercolor. We have, I mean, in our shop we carry all kinds of, journaling things, stamps and crafting kind of things too. So we have a wide range of different things there.
Oh, I've got to come to the store just to sit and browse. And you said that you also have an area where you can sit and do you have like a not a juice bar, but a beverage bar, or is it just places where people can kind of just
we don't I mean we usually have tea that we can offer, but we have a little wellness library. Somebody wants to come in and just sit and read a book, or we've got different kinds of tarot or oracle cards if you want to come and just play with those, or have a cup of tea, or so.
Has that brought, do you have people from the community coming in?
We had a lot more before COVID.
I bet you.
Yeah. and then, all that came to a screeching halt. So we're trying to invite people back in again to feel
Yeah.
comfortable to come back in to do that. Again, typically it's our customers that have been there for a session and then they stay and hang out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
But once you've been there, you know that you're welcome to
yes.
to come back and hang out. Come and do a service.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Gina, is there anything else you want to share? Well, we can have you back and we can talk.
I've got a lot of upcoming projects that we can talk about later on. I'm working on some projects for educators and teachers. Yeah, I just started teaching some art and yoga beginner at McCoy House, which is we talk about people in recovery.
Yes.
And so that's an area where I feel like I might partner with some others that are in that space and do some more work there. But I'm in addition to Jax-Zen and all that, I do have a creative business, of my own that I do a lot of things inside of there too. So maybe we can talk about that another day.
Yes, that sounds great.
But you can visit my website and check me out there. How about
Is
that?
it still is it the same? Is it Jax-Zen still, or do you have a separate?
I have a separate one.
Would you tell us what that is, or I can just put it in the notes as well?
It's heartflowcreative.com.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, I've seen your Heartflow.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll add that in the notes as well. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us.
One-on-one with me.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, it has been for me too. All right. So come out to Vibe Fest October 29th. And let's just all get together as a community. All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. See y'all later. The views expressed by guests on Metaphysical Mississippi are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent.